So, welcome back. Who's next? Explaining something.
Okay, so we got Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha is pure consciousness, and Prakriti, primordial will. And when they blend together, and they form the soundless and then every interaction is an expression of these two, and then they form Mahat.
Okay.
And who is the creative intelligence, and the supreme intelligence with self-awareness. Then Buddhi, that is the reasoning and the capacity of the intellect.
So, something I wanted to say, when that supreme intelligence or creative intelligence has a reasoning capacity, becomes
shifts into
exactly. It's not like it's two
No,
separate concepts, but
but it's at the same together.
right. It's like when that same intellect becomes
Reasoning.
reason.
So Buddhi is an evolved Mahat.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so then Mahat evolved, and then Buddhi comes.
Sure.
And then we come Ahamkara, that's the I former, our ego. And
So an important point, like everybody has done pretty much the same, you said from Mahat, Ahamkar, yes, from Mahat is Ahamkar, but in Mahat there's no differentiation. So once this supreme intelligence start focusing on one thing and one thing only, imagine everything becoming
it becomes
single pointed, or more concrete, or more no, like focused, like united, like more narrow. It's like a narrowing down process, kind of. Then the ego is created. So it's more specific. In Mahat, there's no definition, or it's just imagine like vastness, space, and just, and Ahamkar is more like concrete, like more single pointed, like more, okay.
Okay, so then becomes the Ahamkara is created, the I, the ego, the I am, and through acquisition of mental faculties, we got the Di, Duti, and Smruti.
Deep rooting and smoothing.
Smruti. And they manifest all together, expressing themselves into Sattva, who is essence of life, pure intelligence, Rajas, movement, change, and excitability, and Tamas, who is inertia, darkness, and confusion. And in Sattva, we have the five sense faculties, and then the mind and the faculties of action. Five sense of faculties are hearing, touching, seeing, tasting, and smelling, and the five faculties of action are speaking, listening, walking, elimination, and procreation. This gives place to the organic universe, Rajas and Sattva. And then we got the energy of movement, that's Rajas, and transformation. And then Tamas is the solid substances. And we got in them.
Not yet.
Yeah. Tamas is not the.
It's the elements, but not quite solid substances
Okay.
itself. Because the five tanmatras, they're not solid, they're not tangible. Now, when we talk about the elements, when we talk about earth, that is solid substances. but not quite yet. It's only with the union of the two universes and the mind plus the soul that solidity is formed.
Okay, so then is when they become solid.
Because even in solidity, you learn that there is, like all the elements are within. And let's say in a piece of wood, even though it's solid, you learn how water is in that wood, how the elements are all combined. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So got the 5 tanmatras: sound, touch, form, taste and smell, and then the elements, 5 elements: the ether, space, earth, fire, water, and earth.
So going back, I'm sorry, you could say solidity is form.
Mhm.
That is not incorrect, but I want you to go deeper than that,
Okay.
okay?
And then they form, they give place to the universe, the inorganic universe. When all of this blend together, then we get the physical expression of the organic living.
Organic, yes, very good. Maritza, you wanna try next?
Okay. So at the center there's Brahman, and when Purusha and Prakriti join together, the pure consciousness comes together with the primordial will. They create soundless Om. It's like soundless Om is born from that. From that soundless Om, we get Mahad, creative intelligence. That creative intelligence refines itself into reasoning.
Right, and the Maha doesn't come from the soundless Om, it comes from the interaction of Purusha and Prakriti. And that interaction, within that interaction, there's the soundless Om. So you see, it's not giving place to, it's part of what's happening in the middle. Okay, so what gives place to the first expression of creation is the interaction of the two forces, of the two poles, you see?
It's like the two forces have several babies. And one of the babies is the soundless Om and the creative intelligence.
Yeah, you could say that. Very good.
From the reasoning and the intelligence, some kind of awareness and individuality develops, the I am.
Very good.
And of course, none of this can happen without the pranic, the prana, the cosmic prana that's pulsing, moving everything, bringing everything together. And from the I am that wants to express itself, more stuff is born from that energy. Like it drops itself, it splits itself into 3 energies.
Three qualities.
3 qualities, sattva, rajas, and tamas. But the sattva really can't be anything without the raja. The raja, with the movement, makes it alive. And the same thing, the tamas also needs the rajas to make it alive. And of course, raja has to go somewhere because it's movement, so it needs that energy. I mean, overall, it's kind of like sex. Like there's something always interacting with something else, and things manifest from it. From the sattvic joining with the rajas, you get hearing, but you also get speaking. It's like philosophically when that old saying, if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound if no one is there to hear it? It's like you can't have one without the other. And with the tamas, it joins with the rajas for things to actually get formed. Of course, they can't get formed without any of them together, ultimately creating physicality.
Very good. Very good. Go on.
if I'm going to touch, I have to touch something. So the touching goes together with the grasping. If there were no grasping, how could there be touch? If the seeing, there's something that I have to go through, walk through. I mean, it's just, everything is connected and it won't exist without the other. Like, it won't manifest without the other. Same thing with tasting. Whatever I put in, it has to go out somewhere. It has to be eliminated. And same thing with the smelling and the procreation, how it's connected. You can't have one without the other. Moving over to the tamas with the rajas, it's like you need that darkness for something to be born. I don't know what I'm saying.
No, what you're saying is without light, without the shadow. If there is shadow, there is light. You cannot separate the light and the shadow.
It's like the baby being incubated in the womb. You need to grow there first.
Yeah, in solitude and darkness, and in a place where there is no seclusion or. That's really good. What else?
Okay. From there, as things manifest, we get the 5 elements: earth, air, fire, water, space.
Yeah, space first.
Space.
Yeah. Ether or space?
Yeah, that's amazing. Because none of them could exist without the other.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Within earth, you have all of it. That's why you learn them in that order of creation, because one is contained within the other. But it expresses, like water, would express qualities more of liquid or oneness than fire. You understand?
Well, it's like for me, it's all from the most subtle to the most gross.
Right, but it's all contained.
Yeah.
This contains Brahma
Yeah.
and Maha and Ahamkara. And so that's what I'm saying, like when you really grasp the concept, you have all the answers. Like literally, in every aspect of life. It's very interesting. Very good, thank you. Do you want to go, Lila?
Sure. So at the beginning it was Brahman. It's the beginning. There was nothing else before that. And Brahman manifested the 2 energies, Prakriti and Purusha. The 2 energies interacted with each other, creating the soundless phone. And
Out of that interaction,
from the interaction, the Supreme Intelligence Mahat, reasoning with the capacity of the intellect, get a refined form of Mahat, which is Buddhi. And that takes us to Akara, which is the ego. The ego that through acquisition of mental faculties, it's creating the 3 gunas. And we have sattva, rajas, and tamas. I think sometimes I see sattva and tamas like the duality, right? And then we have the movement of the rajas.
well, they are
Right?
opposites,
The duality of
qualities.
the universe, right?
Yeah, they're opposite qualities.
Mm.
You know, if the sattva is very light in nature, and tamas is like very dense in nature.
Mhm.
Even though they're both needed, they're both needed equally for
Interconnected and-
creation. they're all as important. It's not that one is more important than the other.
Right, like the
Like
yin and yang.
eventually, in the yoga system, we say you transcend, you have to transcend
The duality.
everything and go towards sattva.
Mhm.
But the three of them are equally needed in the process of
Mhm.
creation. So not only you need to transcend to become sattva in the yogic path, but you gotta transcend sattva.
So-
Because there's still duality in sattva. You understand? Still in sattva, there's duality. Can you hold the question?
Yeah,
or-
yeah.
Sure. Just keep it there.
Yeah.
Go on.
So, sattva, it's the essence of light of your intelligence that manifests to the five faculties, sense faculties, and to the five faculties of action. The sense faculties are hearing, touching, seeing, tasting, and smelling, which are interconnected with the faculties of action, speaking, grasping, walking, elimination, and procreation. The second guna
And the mind.
and the mind. And
Don't
the mind.
forget the mind with with the qualities, the mental faculties.
Right. And
Then,
rajas with the movement, the excitability, and the change. And tamas, where we have the five tamatras interconnected with the five elements: space, air, fire, water, and earth. In this way, we have the organic and unorganic, and the soul manifesting into creation.
okay, thank you. Michelle. You want
Should I
to?
go?
Yes,
Or
you
you gonna
should.
answer the question?
Your question. You want to? No?
Go first.
Yeah, because that would lead.
It's gonna lead to
Well, another
something. Yeah, so
answer.
it's. I don't even know if I should ask it because it's gonna open up a can of worms. I feel.
No, but it's okay.
Oh,
If it's related to that,
Yeah.
it's the right time.
Okay. So, creation.
I like the beginning. Creation.
Because I have to like think, this is what we're talking about, so it's like breaking it down. So the first was Brahman,
Mhm.
right? And this is like, okay, Brahman. And then when Prakriti and Purusha interact, they interact, and there is this soundless Om when they interact, correct?
It's a vibration. A
It's a
vibration
vibration
is created.
that's created
But
with
it's
this
a vibration
interaction.
that doesn't have a sound.
Right. It's just
That's
created
why it's
with this
soundless.
interaction. Right?
At that time, there's no sound. There's no sound. You think of sound like maybe at the very, sound at Amanda. Up there, that's why it's soundless. Because it is an energy, it's energy, it's a vibration, it's not, but it's the first vibration.
Okay, so this first vibration is created through this interaction between Prakriti and Purusha. And after this vibration comes Mahad, which is this creative intelligence. And you were saying that Mahad and Buddhi, there's no difference.
Yeah, they're two faces of the same coin.
They're two faces of the same one. It's creative and
There is a difference, but it belongs to the same, it's the same aspect. It's just like when the intellect becomes, when the faculty, the reason becomes,
that's Buddhi.
exactly, it manifests.
So when you
as
begin
Buddhi.
reasoning, or when reasoning energy begins to manifest, that's Buddhi.
Yes.
Okay. And it's also saying that Mahad is the supreme, it puts everything in its proper place through self-awareness. Okay. So after that process, then there's a difference, right?
How
This is
does
the
that,
ego.
I'm sorry, how does the Supreme Intelligence manifest in the body? Or give me an example of daily life, like in the street or at your house. How would that Supreme Intelligence manifest?
In daily life?
Yeah, like walking the street. Like how would you see that Supreme Intelligence manifesting? If it's that energy that puts everything in proper place to self-awareness, give me an example. Something doesn't need to be transcendental.
Almost like, I don't understand.
Like, if that Supreme Intelligence puts everything in proper place through awareness, and you're crossing the street and there's a car coming,
Oh, yeah, okay.
you see?
Yeah. So I'm gonna know. I see the car coming and I stop.
Mindfulness.
Exactly, exactly. It's that intelligence that you don't know, you think it's your mind saying, okay, this is dangerous, but it's beyond that.
Right.
It's also what we were talking about with the library, like how
Uh-huh.
certain energies are drawn to the library because you know energetically what goes on there. That knowledge is there, so more aware people are drawn to it.
Right. But when, like in that case, then I start thinking, why is it that other people are not drawn to it?
Because they're not connected to that self-awareness, that supreme
They're not
self-awareness.
awakened yet.
It has nothing to do with awakening, it has to do, the more we have, the more we depend on external factors to be, the more detached we are from ourselves and our intelligence. So it's not that they're not awakened, it's just like there's that natural intelligence is like cover up. You know, it's like when you're cleaning, when you're like, it's not that you're more or they're less or they're, it's not that, it's just like whatever level, you
Just
know, it's
deeper.
like, you understand? It's not- Because we all have Brahma inside, and we all have Mahara.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Buddhi,
saying. I'm saying we all come from the same place. We're all supreme intelligence within us. We have this, right? But in daily life, in the life that we're living right now, people are choosing. A lot
Yeah,
of people
because
they're
we're
conditioned.
externalizing.
Yeah.
We externalize everything. You know, we depend on phone calls, on cell phones, on TV shows, on drugs, on relationships, and that what it does, it externalizes everything instead of going like inward and become more aware. You know, like in tune, like with these processes or being aware of like nature. Like most people eat and they don't have awareness of food. Like literally they eat like so quick and there's no awareness. Like you can be looking outside and the last thing you see is the green on the trees. It's not that I'm more spiritual than you or that you're more than, no. It's like we're so, it's the mind. The
Distracted.
more waves in the mind you have, the less connected you're gonna be. Because the more outward the input that takes you, the less you're gonna have, the less connection, I mean, to call it someone, you're going to have with God, ultimately. That's what it comes down to. You see, so I think it really has a lot to do with that externalization of, you know, of beauty and all these things. Because remember, like on the philosophies, when we get to Vedanta, even all that you gotta drop. When you look through, and there's nothing. So, Ahamkar?
So Ahamkara is the ego, it's the I. It's when it's you're saying like it becomes focused, like very
Defined.
defined. And his definition begins, there's the D, the Duruti, and the Smruti.
Druti.
Druti, Smruti,
Yeah.
okay. Let me see, then it breaks down, or the I then has three qualities, or three different, there's sattva, with the five sense faculties, which correspond to the actions. There's the mind faculties, and rajas is the movement. So basically, what is occurring is we're getting our senses, we're seeing, touching, smelling, that is beginning to manifest, or to that energy is forming.
Yeah, it's
And-
beginning to manifest through the motor organs.
Right.
But don't think of like nose, I'll just give you that as an example, but that's really good. It's starting to manifest through the organs of action.
Right. And then there's tamas as well, which is also needed. Like all of these things go together. We need all of these things. And tamas is darkness and confusion, inertia. And it has the five mantras.
Tan mantras. Tan mantras.
Tan mantras.
Yes.
That correspond with these five elements of space, or ether, air, fire, water, and earth. And then after that, somewhere, the physical form takes place.
Very good. You guys did awesome. That's great. Ashley, what's your question?
So, I get why the mind is involved in sattva. But I don't understand why the five senses and the five faculties of action are not considered rajasic, because of that. It just, there's the movement with rajas, and sattva is so much more subtle. And like, whenever we think of like desire and things like that, that's a sensual thing. We only have that because of the senses, and that has to do with rajas.
Right. So, rajas, remember, the five faculties of actions and the five sense faculties is a result of that interaction. That you need sattvas.
Okay, so it's not
It's not
categorized
sattva giving
underneath
place
sattva.
the exactly.
It's when rajas comes into
Exactly.
play.
Sattva, it's not. It doesn't give place to that on its own.
It has to have that catalyst, like the rajas is the
Exactly.
catalyst.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's it.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? So, we're done with Sankhya? Say goodbye to Sankhya.
I think
from
we've
the
just
war.
begun with Sankhya, but you can erase the war if that's what you're asking.
No, this can never be done. After today, your life is changed.
Bless you. Bless you. Bless you times 3.
Do you guys need AC?
I have 2 sweaters in my car if anybody needs a sweater. I come prepared. That's about our things.
Probably AC for some time, and then just for a little bit. Okay, so you have Sankhya. But let's talk a little bit about Nyaya, the rest of them. So that is the first philosophy explaining creation, right? So Nyaya, it is the science of logic. So you guys have that down, correct?
Yes.
Okay. This science of logic, you have that to obtain right knowledge or to have logic, you need these four aspects. We'll discuss because Ayurveda, for Ayurveda, it's very important. What happened?
Yeah.
What happened?
No, she was repeating something for me.
Oh. Science of logic. You need sense perception, so this sense perception is produced when there is contact between the sense and an object in the world, right? When there is contact between a sense and an object, you get a perception. This can be of two types, ordinary or extraordinary. Ordinary will be seeing, touching, grasping. When we talk about extraordinary, we're talking about like intuition. Okay? So this sense perception can be of two types, ordinary or extraordinary. You can read this. This is just for general information, okay? Then the second point is inference. Inference and cognition based upon a previous experience. So inference is like saying whatever used to smoke, you know that there was fire. So that's like an inference. If I burn myself and I say, that flame will burn you. You can learn that by inference without having to do it yourself. You know that if you touch the flame, you're gonna get burned. That's inference. Okay? Is that clear? And then the third aspect is analogy. So these are the aspects where you can obtain knowledge from, basically, what I'm giving to you. What I'm giving to you right now. It's like analogy is based upon comparison of an unfamiliar object to something that is already known. So for you to make an analogy, you have to know something before, to have some experience. And you can say, oh, okay, this looks like a, I don't know, give me an analogy. Can you give me an analogy? Anybody?
I could if my brain didn't feel like mush right now.
Any analogy?
I don't know, orange to an apple? You're comparing the two? I don't know.
What was that again?
An analogy, like it's based upon comparison, right? So you're comparing an orange to an apple. How do they look? They look different. Obviously, one is orange, the other one could be green, red.
Okay.
Flower, maybe a flower. Comparing flowers.
Can you give me an analogy? Another one? Anything.
Well, I'm thinking like a man and a woman, how they're so different but similar. Like, you know, the body's almost the same but not quite the same.
Like your analogy to how creation was like sex. That's an analogy.
Right. So everybody knows what it means, right? You need some sort of information that is valid to compare something else to it. Correct? And then the last aspect is verbal testimony. Verbal. These are the most important aspects of Nyaya. I mean, you can read about it, the whole philosophy, but it's basically the science of logic. Here, everything gotta make sense, everything gotta be proven, everything has to have a base of comparison, and everything has to have verbal testimony. It's not as abstract as Sankhya,
You said
but it's as important, the same importance for Ayurveda. Why? Because this is what we use. How are you gonna compare the stools that look really imbalanced to like how the Sama dosha, Sama Agni? How are you gonna compare an Agni? You need to know what a Sama Agni is. To know that you have Vishnagni, Tikshagni. Tikshagni is too high. Vishagni is irregular. Or Manda Agni, too low. So these are three types of Agni. Agni is digestive fire. Or it's too high, people are hungry all the time, burning themselves to death with ulceration. Or not hungry at all, your Agni is low. Or it's irregular, one day you feel like eating, the next day you don't. How are you gonna know that if you don't know what Sama Agni is? You see? So for Ayurveda, that's why this is very important, because Ayurveda is based on these ways to obtain knowledge.
This is when it shifts from theory to actual science.
When it becomes a science. Okay? I don't like this spotlight, it's so strong on my face. Is that okay?
Getting sunburned?
Is that too low?
No.
Maybe I have to change one of those things like, to you guys. Well, now you need to see that. Okay, so verbal testimony. That which is authentic and truth. That's what verbal testimony refers to.
You said inference.
I just gave you an example. It's like when you know the outcome, let me give you inference. It's based upon some previous knowledge or experience. Based upon some previous knowledge or experience. So any more on the ayat, like, is this clear? Yes? Lila is clear?
What did you
Is this clear?
No.
Okay. What is not? Well, I know I felt it. So, Nyaya is another philosophy. The Shaidarshan, remember, those are the 6 philosophies of life where Ayurveda is based on. It's based on Sankhya, and Sankhya explains the creation. It's very abstract. This is more like the science of logic and reasoning. So this philosophy is mainly on how to obtain information. And the ways to obtain information is through sense perception. It's the contact of your senses with an object. Okay, if I use the palpation, I'm going to feel that the liver has, is shrinked or is tender or is, it's the perception with an object, which is the body or the organ, right? Inference. You're going to learn by inference, by what I'm telling you. I mean, what I'm telling you, I cannot really prove to you unless I bring the drop of urine in the sesame. So by inference, you're learning what the drop of urine will do in the sesame oil cup, right? By analogy, by giving comparisons and example, you learn how a clear urine or how a cloudy urine will need herbs, or you're going to recommend herbs that will have the opposite qualities of cloudiness or heaviness, light, subtle, or foods that are more, like that. And verbal testimony, pretty much, you have to believe what I say. No, I'm kidding. Verbal testimony is like, it's the truth from the scriptures, the validity, like this sutras and these laws that they've studied through observation and interrogation and palpation. Is that clear now? Okay. Erica is good?
Yeah.
Michelle? Okay, so we move. Anything else? I mean, we're just moving because otherwise it becomes a philosophy class and we have to go to 6. So I'm just giving you like the nutshell so you guys can just study on your own. Then you have Vaisheshika, right? Establishes that liberation is to be attained through understanding the nature of existence. Analyzing substance, quality, action, universal, particular, we'll go through them now. Now, Nyaya and Vaisheshika, they're looked as a pair. Like they're always kind of together. Like when you talk about philosophy, those two, because they emphasize in logic and they analyze the nature of the world, both of them. This you can read on your own. This is really not, I mean, understanding the nature of existence through substance qualities. Let's say you get something, you analyze it. What is the guna? Then you learn the gunas. We're not there yet. But then the action, what is the substance gonna do? You know, then you say, okay, what universal effect or particular effect will have on this tissue or the whole body? You know, these are just aspects, non-existence. When you say about non-existence here, like I don't really want to get into this, like to the point that we have to go back to Sankhya, but like non-existent, when you understand the nature of existence, what would be non-existent? Maritza.
Say that again.
Like, let's say, okay, the nature of existence.
Yeah.
You have substance, you have a quality, you have the action of an herb, for example. When we're talking about a particular effect on the body, the non-existent is something like that mahad or that is something that you don't know how physically can work, but it
It's a
works.
secret.
Okay.
You understand? Like how lemon, like the same example I said before, can be sour, but it has a sweet effect in the body. How do you explain that? You know what I mean?
Okay.
So this is very abstract, but basically, Vaishesheka, it says that liberation, it's another philosophy that establishes that liberation is to be attained through understanding the nature of existence. Now, I have a note here. Nyaya and Vaishesheka are viewed as a complementary pair, with Nyaya emphasizing logic and Vaishesheka analyzing the nature of the world. So you go back to Sankhya pretty much.
Yeah.
This is more like to understand the nature of this herb, of this medicine, of this relationship, of this movement, of this, and Nyaya is more like logics. Okay, my logics and my reasoning said that if I move forward, I'm gonna get, the car is gonna hit me. And Vaishesheka would be like, okay, what is the nature of the car? Why is like, you understand? It's like more,
Like if it hit me going this fast, it wouldn't kill me, but if it hit me going that fast, like.
right, it's like that analysis
Yeah.
of the nature of the impact. Versus Nyaya is okay, I cannot cross because I'm gonna get hit. You see, that's why they're, yes, well, it depends. Yes. So basically, I mean, you know, you read about it, but I just don't want to, because it's a little bit too much of, you know, you have Sankhya, you have, just write the key points, we're going to move to the next one. So is that okay, Vaishesheka?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
It's the analysis of the nature, of the nature of things, basically. Versus Nyaya is more like logic and reasoning. Are we good?
Yes.
Okay. So Mimamsa is the next one. 4, right? It's really, it means to analyze and understand truth through the performance of Dharma. Analyze and understanding truth Where is it? Through performance of one's dharma or duty. So basically, this science emphasizes the teaching of the Vedas from the, like, also the ritual perspective. This is like, you know, everything is a ritual. You get up in the morning, you look at the paper, you brush your teeth, that's a ritual, right? So when you're a mother, you have a ritual. You care for the baby, you put in the breast, you take whatever is the ritual. That you can take it at all levels. So by performing one's dharma, you're fulfilling your existence, you're evolving, you're like, let's say you're a mother or you're a wife. What is your dharma if you're a wife? To care for the husband, to make sure that the house is, you know, your dharma right now is to study Ayurveda. You know, as when you walk into the door, your dharma is one of study. When you are, I don't know, like when you're at work and you're a nurse, what is your dharma? To care for your patients, to do whatever. So it's by living truthfully one's duty, you free yourself and you can attain moksha. Why? Because basically in every moment you're so present. You know, like mothers, they evolve, they're very evolved beings, they're so selfless, and so they don't even know how evolved they are because you're involved in this work all day and you don't realize what it really takes, you know? But it's a very high duty because it's totally selfless. So you see, by performing Mimamsa, this philosophy establishes that you also can attain liberation. Okay? Is that good? We have yoga. So we call it yoga union. Union of what? You know? Basically, union of your higher self with your lower self. But it's already within you. It's nothing, like most of you know, it's not something that you look outside of you. It's already within. So that union is not you becoming or uniting yourself with someone else that is external. If Brahma is an expression, if you are Brahma, if Brahma is within you, that union is meant to happen within you. It's nothing external. It's internal process. That's clear, right? What else can we say about yoga?
It's the
There are
awareness,
various schools of yoga. I'm sorry?
it's the awareness of your divinity.
It is the awareness of your divinity because it's the same thing I'm explaining. Why is it the awareness within your divinity? Because it's uniting your natures, like what you're made of. It's putting everything together. You know, and realizing Brahma, that you're that supreme consciousness, that you are that. So that's what yoga is about. That's why it's so amazing. And then you have 4 paths of yoga. You have, I'm talking about the ones that are established as path of yoga. I mean, you can find some more other than this, but this is what's established. And in the scriptures, Bhakti Yoga, which is the path of devotion. So by devoting yourself completely to a practice, you can attain also liberation. When I say practice, I don't mean like headstand. I mean like, or meditation, or the love of a deity, or like devotion, like complete trust, complete surrender into one of the aspects of yoga. You know, so we're talking about yoga, but this can apply to anything and everything. It's like, who says that the man who's, I don't know, planting a tree is not meditating, and the next man who's sitting by the tree is not meditating. Actually, probably the one that's planting the tree, it's really getting a lot more for its evolution than the one who's sitting down with their eyes closed, you know? So really, it's like whatever action, that mindfulness, that awareness. So once you start practicing, the idea is that throughout your day, you do everything you do with awareness, mindfully. Okay? So Bhakti Yoga, devotion. You have Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga, which is the path of knowledge.
Is that a J?
Oh. A J, sorry. Jnana Yoga is knowledge. So you have also those that choose the path of yoga, and within the path of yoga they choose Jnana Yoga. It's the study of the scriptures, of those sutras. It's basically through knowledge but even within that, you have to drop the knowledge so you can really attain moksha, because it becomes an obstacle. The ego gets too involved into that. Like, I know, I learn, so the only way to really, it doesn't matter what you practice, if that I is still there, there's no freedom.
The more you know, the less you know.
Yeah, that's why in the yoga classes, when I get students that have zero knowledge of asana, I'm so happy that if I have someone that they think they're so advanced and I have to correct everything, because their mind is so set that it's hard to imprint another groove that says, okay, instead of this, I have to do this. So that's why, they're more open. You're more, that's why the most difficult students in Ayurveda college, those are Western medical, doctors, because they're so set, structured. So to break through that is very difficult. So know that they're, brilliant people. I mean, of course, I'm just speaking in general. So it's the yoga of knowledge. You have jnana yoga, you have karma yoga, which is the yoga of service, selfless service. Make sure you write selfless. So it is said, and experienced and proven, that through selfless service, you purify your heart. And that's why Mother Teresa and Mahatma Gandhi did. That was pure karma yoga. So when you do something without expecting anything in return, that purifies yourself. Your desires become a lot more pure. Like, you really don't expect a compensation for what you're doing. So what you're doing it from the heart. When I say heart, it means like your mind gets pure. So when you do everything, and the highest form of service is that one that you do anonymously. Like, like people do things and like, oh, I did this and I did that and I did service. The highest form is that one that nobody knows. That only yourself, and that one you even try to forget, because then your ego will be self-involved. Okay? So that's one of the highest forms of yoga, if not the highest form of yoga. Because here you're activating directly, you're working on the ego. The knowledge, there's a lot of duality there. Devotion, yes, but karma yoga, and it takes a lot, especially in this society. Back in the East, they grew up with this mentality. So they knew, they practiced karma yoga. Oh, whenever they get a chance. So whenever you get a chance, you do practice karma yoga. Even if you're poor, even if you don't have, that's saying like, oh, the poor people, they give everything they have, because when you don't have anything to lose, you give everything you have. You see? But here the point is to really do some work, whether you have or you don't, that is strictly from the heart. To somebody, like make a point, or to society, or to a bird, or to a tree, or to whatever. This is very... So, Erika, just do this, like really hard, like on the lobe of your ears. Take your earrings up, and on both of them, do it like very hard, like press them like that. So, then you have Raja Yoga. Raja, the path of the physical and mental control. I'm going to say control of mind, but it's really like, the 8 limbs. It refers to the 8 limbs of yoga, which we'll study that. This is not the time for that right now, but that's basically asana, pranayama, like the physical aspect, breathing exercise, niyamas, yamas, like ethics, like conducts of ethics towards you and towards others. Asana, meditation, concentration, withdrawal